The red planet was silent except for the wind. Dust moved across the flat land like slow smoke. Black stone pillars rose from the ground in strange shapes. Some looked like broken towers. Some looked like claws reaching into the sky. The sun above was small and pale, but its light was sharp. It made every shadow dark and deep. A silver research ship floated down through the thin clouds and landed on the hard ground. Its engines pushed dust away in wide circles. When the engines shut down, the silence returned. The side door opened. 5 figures stepped out. They wore tall armor suits made of layered plates. Their helmets were smooth and round. Blue lights moved across their chest pieces as their systems scanned the air. Each one carried a long energy rifle. They were not human. Their species was known across several systems as careful explorers and strong fighters. They had strong bones and fast reflexes. Their ships were powerful. Their science was advanced. They had studied hundreds of planets. This world had a warning mark in their star charts. Extreme life forms detected. Do not land without military support. They landed anyway. The leader of the team, a tall officer with a deep voice, looked over the red plains. His visor showed heat signals in the distance. Small, moving cubs, he said through the shared comm line. Large predator signatures, not fully grown. The reports were true, she said. This planet produces heavy muscle density in native species. Bone strength readings are extreme. The youngest member of the team shifted his rifle nervously. Why are we here again? The officer answered calmly. Because we study what others fear. They began walking away from the ship. The ground felt solid under their boots. The air was thin but breathable with filters. Strange rock plants grew in twisted lines across the land. Some of them moved slowly, reacting to heat. Then the wind changed. A low sound rolled across the plain. It was not the wind. It was a growl. All 5 froze. Their scanners lit up. Multiple heat forms, moving fast. From behind the blackstone pillars, shapes appeared into view. 4-legged creatures stepped into view. Their bodies were long and heavy. Thick scales covered their backs. Each had 4 glowing eyes placed in pairs. Their mouths were wide, filled with sharp teeth that looked like broken glass. But they were smaller than expected. Juveniles, the scientist whispered. Still dangerous. The cubs circled slowly. They did not rush. They studied. The officer raised his rifle but did not fire. Hold position. They are testing us. The cubs made soft clicking sounds to each other. One stepped closer. It lowered its head and sniffed the air. Then something else moved across the plain. Far beyond the stone pillars, a single figure walked toward them. At first, the team thought it was another alien. Then their scanners focused.
Biped and stable?
Internal energy readings moderate. Identify, the officer ordered. The scientist adjusted her scanner again. Her voice changed. Human. Silence filled the comm line. Humans were known, but not common in this sector. They came from a death world called Earth. Records described them as adaptable, emotional, and physically weaker than many armored species. What is a human doing here alone? The young soldier asked. The figure came closer. She walked with steady steps. Her suit was dark gray, simple in shape. No heavy armor plates showed. No large weapons were visible. A small pack rested on her back. Her boots were thick and heavy, made of dull metal. She did not look afraid. The cubs noticed her. They turned away from the alien team. Now their full attention was on the human. The officer lowered his rifle slightly. "This will be educational," he said. The cub spread out and blocked her path. The wind moved her short hair slightly around her helmet seal. Her face was calm. Her eyes moved slowly from one cub to the next. She did not reach for a weapon. The nearest cub growled louder. It stepped forward and scratched the ground with one claw. Sparks jumped from the rock. The alien scientist recorded everything. "The human shows no fear response," she whispered. The young soldier spoke quietly. "She will die." The cub crouched low. Then it jumped. Its mouth opened wide and aimed for her lower leg. The human did not step back. The cub's teeth clamped down on her boot. It was not the sound anyone expected. The cub screamed. It fell backward, shaking its head. Dark blood dripped from its mouth onto the red dust. Two of its front teeth had shattered. The alien team stared. The human looked down at her boot. There was not even a scratch. The cub made a high cry and rolled in the dust. The other cubs froze in shock. The officer's voice was low. "Material analysis?" The scientist's scanner worked fast. "Dense alloy. Compression layers. Stronger than standard hull plating on small ships." The young soldier whispered, "On her feet." The injured cub tried to stand. It looked confused and angry. The human finally moved. Slowly, she bent down slightly and tapped the side of her boot with one hand. A dull metallic sound answered. She looked at the cub and spoke in a calm voice. "Bad idea." Her voice was clear across the open plain. The cub did not understand her words, but it understood tone. It stepped back. Then the ground began to shake. A deep roar rolled across the land. It was louder than thunder. All scanners on the alien team flashed red. Massive heat signature detected.
Very close.
The officer turned slowly toward the stone pillars. The pillars trembled. One of them cracked and fell aside. From behind it, something huge moved. The mother had arrived. She was 3 times larger than the cubs. Her body was thick with muscle. Scars crossed her scaled hide. Each step left deep marks in the rock. Her 4 eyes burned bright orange. She saw the injured cub. She saw the human. The air felt heavy. The alien team raised their rifles at the same time. The officer spoke sharply. "Do not fire unless necessary."
Observe. The mother predator lowered her head and let out a low, deadly growl.
The cubs ran behind her legs. The injured one stayed close to the ground, shaking. The human stood alone in front of the massive creature. The wind stopped. For a long moment, nothing moved. The mother took 1 step forward. The ground cracked under her weight. The human lifted her left arm slightly. A small blue light blinked on her wrist. A thin shield of light formed around her body, almost invisible in the sun. The alien scientist gasped. "Personal shield generator. Compact model. Military grade." The officer's voice was tight. "This is no simple traveler." The mother predator roared and charged. Her speed was shocking for her size. She slammed into the human. A shockwave spread across the ground. Dust flew into the air. Small rocks lifted and fell. The human slid backward several meters, boots cutting lines into the red soil. But she did not fall. Her shield glowed bright blue for 1 second. Then it stabilized. The mother stepped back, confused. The human lowered her arms slowly. The alien team watched in complete silence. The officer finally spoke in a quiet voice. "The cub broke its teeth," he said. Now the mother tests her strength. The human looked at the mother predator without anger, without fear. She planted her boots firmly into the ground. The mother growled again, and this time she prepared to attack with full force. In the distance, beyond the stone pillars, more low growls began to answer. The alien scientist's scanners showed new signals appearing. Not just one adult, many. The officer's breath slowed. "We may not be the hunters here," he said softly. The human stood between the growing pack and the alien team, alone. The wind returned, carrying the sound of heavy footsteps from every direction, and the red planet watched. The red dust swirled around the plain as the massive mother predator faced the human. Her eyes burned bright orange, and her jaws opened, showing teeth sharp as knives. Every step she took made deep cracks in the hard ground. Around her, the cubs huddled, watching their mother, shaking but ready to follow her lead. The human did not flinch. She planted her boots firmly into the cracked soil. Her small shield flickered faintly blue around her. It was thin but strong, and it would absorb the first attacks. She watched the mother predator carefully, her hands relaxed at her sides. She knew how these creatures thought. Their moves were fast, but their mind was simple, driven by protection and instinct. The alien team watched from a safe distance, frozen in place. Their rifles were ready, but their hearts beat fast. They had fought monsters before, but nothing like this. One of the cubs growled low, and the sound sent chills down their spines. They had expected humans to be weak, fragile, easy prey. This was not weak. The mother predator charged first. Her massive body moved with surprising speed. The human braced herself, raising her arm to trigger the shield. The creature slammed into it, and the shield flashed bright blue, absorbing the impact. The ground shook violently. Small rocks and dust flew into the air. The cubs yelped and scrambled back, startled by the force. But the human did not fall. Her boots sank slightly into the ground, gripping the red soil. With a sudden twist, she used the predator's momentum against it. The mother predator stumbled sideways, her claws tearing lines into the rock. But she stayed on her feet. Her eyes glowed brighter, showing anger and confusion. She had never met prey that could resist her attack. The cubs watched, wide-eyed. They had never seen their mother fail. Their small hearts beat fast as the tension grew. One cub stepped forward cautiously, as if testing the human again. The human lowered her arm and tapped her boot lightly on the ground. The cub hesitated and then retreated behind the mother. The alien scientist whispered into her comm. "She is using strength and balance. She is not just surviving. She is controlling the encounter." The officer nodded silently. "Observe carefully. Every move counts." The mother predator roared, a deep, thunderous sound that rolled across the plains. The sound made the alien team step back. Even the rocks seemed to vibrate with the power of the roar. Dust swirled in spirals and shadows moved as the cubs joined their mother's warning. The human moved swiftly then, faster than anyone expected. She stepped to the side, almost dancing with her movements. The mother lunged again. The cubs followed her mother's movements instinctively. They leapt and snapped, but the human avoided them all. She tapped her boots, shifted her weight, and blocked attacks with her shield when necessary. Her movements were smooth and precise, each step measured, each motion deliberate. The alien officer could hardly breathe. She fights alone against an adult predator and her cubs, and she moves without fear. How is this possible? The scientist adjusted her scanner again. Her suit amplifies her strength and balance, but her reflexes, they are human. The reports underestimated humans. The mother predator circled the human now, slower, more cautious. Her growls changed, low and warning, almost as if she was trying to understand this strange creature in front of her. The human crouched slightly, her hands ready. She did not attack. She was not hunting. She was defending. Suddenly, more shadows moved across the plains. The alien team scanned the horizon. Heat signatures appeared, dozens of them. Adult predators, larger than the mother, were gathering from the surrounding cliffs and pillars. Their growls mixed into a deep chorus, echoing across the red valleys. The human glanced briefly toward the approaching pack. Her shield flickered, ready to expand. She did not panic. She understood the danger, but she had confidence. The cubs near her seemed to sense it too, hiding slightly behind the mother. The mother predator took a cautious step backward, then another. She did not attack immediately, waiting for the human's next move. The human slowly extended her arm, not toward the mother, but down to the ground. A faint pulse ran along the shield. It was a message in strength, a display of power without violence. The mother's eyes narrowed, and she hesitated. The alien team whispered among themselves. "She communicates without words," one said. "She controls the predator's attention and fear." One of the cubs, curious again, stepped forward to test her. Its small mouth aimed for her boot. In an instant, her boot struck the ground, sending a vibration through the creature's jaw. The cub yelped and fell back, shaking its head. Its small teeth cracked under the force. Blood appeared around its mouth. The human did not move her boot again. She simply stood there, calm, observing. The cub learned quickly, understanding the strength she held. The mother growled low, stepping in front of the cub. The other cubs crouched and circled around their mother, nervous and alert. The alien officer swallowed hard. One human, alone, against an entire predator family. And she controls them. The scientist added, "This is not natural."
Humans must have evolved differently. They survive because they adapt.
And they fight differently than other species. The mother predator roared again, slower this time. She was testing, not attacking. The human did not step back. Her shield pulsed faintly with a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. The cubs mirrored the mother's cautious stance. Then the human moved forward, slowly. She did not strike. She walked toward the mother predator with calm, steady steps. The adult predators in the distance paused, watching. The human's presence seemed to hold the attention of every creature on the plain. The alien team could hardly comprehend what they were seeing. Their scanners showed energy levels and strength that should have been impossible for one human. Their reports from Earth underestimated this species. They had expected a fragile biped. Instead, they saw someone who could stand alone against creatures that could crush vehicles. The mother predator sniffed the air, watching the human carefully. She growled softly, almost questioning. The human knelt slightly, tilting her head, showing no aggression. She tapped her boot lightly again. The cub stepped back slightly, giving her space. The mother hesitated. She had not met prey like this before. The distant adult predators began to move closer, their heavy steps echoing in the rock valleys. Dust rose in small clouds. The human glanced at them briefly, then returned her gaze to the mother and cubs. She knew she could not fight the entire pack alone, but she had time. The human had learned patience and observation. She did not need to act immediately. Suddenly, one of the alien soldiers panicked. He raised his rifle and fired a shot at the mother predator. The pulse hit her shoulder. The creature flinched and roared in pain, turning toward the shooter. The cubs scattered, frightened by the noise. The human turned toward the alien team, her calm expression gone. She raised her arm. A pulse of blue energy shot out from her shield. It did not harm them physically, but knocked their weapons offline. Sparks flew, and their armor systems shut down momentarily. The officer shouted, trying to regain control. "Retreat! Retreat! Now!" The human did not move toward them. She simply held her stance, warning them. She had shown power without violence, yet the message was clear.
Leave, the mother predator growled low, moving slightly in front of the human, protecting her.
The cubs now followed their mother's lead, hiding and watching carefully. The human's calm dominance over the mother and cubs was clear. She had survived the first encounter and established control without killing. The distant predators stopped advancing, sensing the tension in the air. The human stance, the mother's protectiveness, and the cubs' hesitance combined to hold the threat at bay. The alien team realized they were not the hunters here. They were observers, vulnerable and weak against this human and her unusual control over the predator family. The red planet remained silent, except for the low growls and the wind. The human stood firm, her boots planted in the cracked soil, shield pulsing faintly. Around her, the mother predator and cubs hesitated, watching, waiting, learning. The alien team had witnessed the impossible. One human alone had survived an attack by the mother predator and broken the teeth of one of her cubs without lifting a weapon. The human's eyes scanned the horizon, knowing this was only the beginning. More predators would arrive.
More tests would come, but she was ready.
On this death world, she belonged, and the predators, both cubs and adult, had learned that strength was not always measured by size and teeth. The alien officer whispered into the comm, barely audible. "We must record this. Humanity is not as we believed. This is not prey. This is a force beyond comprehension." The scientist nodded, scanning the human and the predator pack. The cubs learned quickly. The mother is cautious. This human teaches without words. We underestimated humans. The human took a deep breath, watching the cubs retreat behind their mother, the adult predators frozen in the distance, and the alien team trembling at their position. Her mind was calm, her body ready. She knew patience and strategy were as important as strength. One step at a time, she controlled the encounter, demonstrating the resilience and cunning that had made humans survive countless worlds. And as the sun set over the red plains, casting long shadows from the black stone pillars, the human prepared for the next challenge, knowing that the planet, the predators, and the alien observers were all watching. The first battle was over, but the story was far from finished. The red planet's horizon glowed with a faint orange light as the day passed into evening. Shadows stretched across the broken stone and dust-covered plains. The human stood alone, watching the predators and the alien team from a distance. Her shield was still active, faintly pulsing blue. She knew the danger was far from over. The predators had paused, but they were not gone. And the alien observers were learning quickly that humans were not to be underestimated. The alien scientist, her scanner still active, whispered into the comm line. "The human's behavior is remarkable. She is not reacting with aggression. She studies, waits, and adapts. This is unprecedented." The officer, tense, replied, "We should retreat. This is beyond our expectation. We cannot predict what she will do next." But before any decision could be made, a new signal appeared on the human suit. A small green light blinked on her wrist. She glanced at it briefly, and a calm expression crossed her face. She touched the signal, and a soft voice came through. It was human, but stronger than any human voice they had encountered over comms before. This is a standard check-in. Human fleet in orbit is monitoring. Do not engage without authorization.
The alien team froze. A human fleet?
Here? They had not known humans had reached this sector. Their minds raced. Humans had always been underestimated, thought to be fragile and slow. Yet here was proof of their power and reach. The human glanced back at the mother predator and her cubs. She knew the predators were territorial, curious, and protective. They were testing her. But they had also learned quickly from their first failed attack. She had broken one cub's teeth, and the mother had been forced to retreat temporarily. The cubs now stayed close to the mother, nervous and uncertain. One cub peeked from behind her tail, watching the human carefully. She knelt slightly, not threatening, showing calm dominance, waiting for the predators to understand her power without needing to fight them again. The alien officer whispered, "She is not just surviving. She is teaching." The scientists scanned the human closely. She could survive a full pack attack if necessary. Humans are underestimated. Our reports are obsolete. The human's wrist device beeped again. She received a short command from orbit. Continue surveillance, protect the predator's young, and avoid engagement unless provoked. She nodded subtly, even though the aliens could not see her face. She had been trained for this. The predators were not enemies to be killed. They were creatures to be studied, protected, and understood. Survival was about strategy, not strength alone. The mother predator circled slowly, growling low. She had learned from her first encounter. Her teeth no longer shone with confidence. Her body was cautious. She tested the human, sniffed the air, and stomped the ground, warning the cubs to remain behind her. The human watched, noting every movement, every subtle signal. Patience was a weapon, and she had plenty of it. From the cliffs in the distance, more predators were visible, larger than the mother. These adults moved with silent grace. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dimming light. They had heard the roars and sensed the disturbance. Now they approached slowly, analyzing the situation. The human knew they would not attack unless provoked, but she was ready. Every movement of her body, every subtle adjustment in stance kept her balance and prepared her for the next challenge. The alien team began murmuring among themselves. "We should leave now," one whispered. "We cannot fight what we do not understand." But the human noticed them. She did not raise her shield aggressively. She simply shifted her stance, a subtle display of readiness. She was not threatening them, but her calm dominance was clear. The aliens were intelligent enough to recognize danger. They hesitated. Suddenly, one of the cubs broke from the mother's side. It ran toward the human's boot, testing again. The human's eyes followed it calmly. Her boot tapped the ground once, sending a vibration that knocked the cub back. Its teeth cracked again, and it yelped. The mother roared in frustration, stepping forward, but the human raised her shield slightly, showing force without attacking. The cub retreated, and the mother relaxed, realizing this human strength and control. The alien officer whispered, "This is not combat. This is dominance without violence. She commands respect without weapons." The scientist's scanner recorded the readings, showing unusual energy patterns from the human's suit and body. The shield, combined with her physical adaptability, is remarkable. It enhances her natural reflexes and strength. Humans survive through intelligence and adaptability, not brute force alone. The human turned her gaze toward the distant predators now. They had slowed, assessing her, curious and cautious. Her mind calculated every possible move. She could fight them if needed, but it was better to teach them fear and respect without battle. She knew this from training and from survival instincts ingrained over generations. Humans adapted to death worlds, evolved to survive predators larger and stronger than themselves. She was a living example. The alien team continued to watch, slowly realizing the truth. Humans had been underestimated across the galaxy. They were not weak, fragile creatures. They had evolved resilience, strategy, and adaptability. One human alone had survived a direct encounter with a mother predator and her cubs, and had asserted dominance without harming the creatures beyond the first defensive strike. The red planet grew darker. Shadows stretched across the land, and the distant predators hesitated, sensing the humans' readiness. The mother predator watched her cubs closely, protective and cautious, yet no longer aggressive toward the human. The human remained still, calm, and observant. Her wrist device beeped again. Another message from orbit confirmed that reinforcements would arrive only if necessary. She was to maintain the balance. The cubs had learned a painful lesson. This human was not to be tested. The mother had learned the same. The human had survived without violence and had asserted control with calm and precision. The alien team finally began retreating slowly, understanding that they were not the observers, but the vulnerable party. The human had demonstrated a level of control, adaptability, and dominance that few species could comprehend. She did not need to fight to survive. Her presence alone commanded respect. The human glanced at the mother and cubs one last time as the aliens retreated to their ship. She knew the predators had learned from her, and she had learned from them. This planet was dangerous, full of creatures built to kill, but humans were survivors. She had survived the first encounter, taught the predators a lesson, and observed the alien team's reactions. As night fell, the red planet's landscape was painted in deep shadows and faint light. The mother predator led her cubs back toward the cliffs, cautious but calmer. The distant adult predators remained still, studying the human from afar. She watched them, ready for the next challenge, knowing that patience and observation were as important as strength. The wind blew across the plains, carrying the faint scent of predator and dust. The human stood alone, her shield faintly glowing, her mind calculating, her body relaxed but ready. She had survived the impossible, controlled dangerous predators, and impressed an alien team that thought humans were weak. The red planet was quiet again, but the story was far from over. The human knew more predators would arrive. The mother and cubs would test her again, but she was prepared. She had patience, strategy, and experience, and she had survived. One encounter had proven that humans were not to be underestimated. The night on the red planet was deep and quiet, but tension lingered in the cold wind. The human crouched slightly among the black stone pillars, her shield faintly pulsing, her eyes scanning the area. The mother predator and her cubs had moved back to a safer distance, watching her carefully. The distant adult predators had stopped their approach, their glowing eyes still tracking every movement. Everything waited. The alien research team remained in the distance. Their ship's lights were dim, and their scanners were active, but their confidence was gone. The officer spoke in a low voice into the calm. "We miscalculated. Humans are not fragile. We cannot predict them. We must consider retreat." They survive on worlds worse than this. They adapt. And this human, she does not fight like us. She uses patience, intelligence, and controlled strength. Her species is underestimated. The youngest soldier swallowed hard, but she is alone. How can she control all those predators? The officer did not answer. He was watching the human, noting every subtle movement. She was calm, almost serene, yet fully alert. Her shield pulsed faintly. Every movement was deliberate, measured, and controlled. The human lifted her head slightly, looking toward the cliffs where distant predators lingered. She tapped her wrist device, sending a short pulse signal. The response came quickly from orbit. Human fleet monitoring. Do not engage unless provoked. Maintain predator safety. She nodded to herself, satisfied. She did not need to fight. Her presence alone was enough. The mother predator took a step forward, her claws scraping the stone. The cubs crouched behind her. One cub, curious, peered out and took a slow step toward the human. The human did not move. She only tapped her boot lightly. The vibration ran through the cub's jaw, and it yelped, retreating behind the mother. Its teeth had been broken in the first encounter, and now it had learned to respect the human's strength. The alien officer whispered, "She controls the predators without violence. This is remarkable. We have never seen this." The scientist adjusted her scanner, noting energy signatures from the human's suit. The shield enhances her natural reflexes and balance. Her species survives not by brute force, but by adaptability. Observe the calm control. Suddenly, one of the alien soldiers panicked, fired a small energy pulse toward the mother predator. The mother roared, stepping protectively in front of the cubs. Dust rose in the air, and the alien's pulse created sparks as it struck the rock. The cubs yelped in fright and hid behind the mother. The human's eyes shifted toward the alien, calm but sharp. She raised her arms slightly, her shield sending out a wave of energy. The alien soldier's weapons fizzled and shut down. Sparks flew from his armor. The officer shouted, "Retreat! Retreat now!" The human did not move. She simply displayed her control. The message was clear: leave or suffer consequences. The mother predator relaxed slightly, recognizing the human's authority. The cubs followed, hiding behind the mother. From the cliffs, the distant adult predators paused, sensing the tension. They did not approach, waiting, curious and cautious. The human stance and calm dominance were clear. She had survived their first challenge, taught the cubs and mother a lesson, and established her presence without unnecessary violence. The wind blew across the plains, carrying faint scents of dust and predator. The red sky dimmed further as the planet turned, painting long shadows across the broken rocks. The human crouched, scanning the area, aware that the predators would test her again. But she was ready. Patience and observation were her weapons. She had survived the first encounter and asserted control. The alien officer's voice trembled. "We entirely. Our reports were wrong. One human alone, she commands predators and controls the situation without weapons." The scientist whispered, "She has adapted to this world. Earth species is not weak. They survive death worlds and predators larger than these. She embodies that survival instinct." The human stood slowly, moving with quiet confidence. The mother predator and her cubs watched carefully. The distant adults remained still. She did not threaten. She did not provoke. Her calm presence commanded respect. The cubs learned a painful lesson. Humans were not prey to be tested lightly. The mother predator learned the same. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed across the plains. More predators were moving toward the human. Adult creatures, larger and stronger than the mother, had heard the previous encounters and were curious. They approached cautiously, their glowing eyes studying the human and her shield. The human's wrist device beeped again. Another message from orbit confirmed monitoring status. Reinforcements available if necessary. Maintain predator safety. She nodded to herself. She was ready to defend, but she did not intend to provoke unnecessary combat. Her goal was observation and control. The alien team finally began to retreat slowly. They understood that they were vulnerable. The human had demonstrated control over the predators and displayed a level of intelligence, strategy, and adaptability far beyond their expectations. They were observers, not hunters. The human had turned the tables, showing that one individual could dominate a dangerous ecosystem with patience, strategy, and calm authority. The red planet was quiet again. Shadows stretched across the plains. The mother predator led her cubs back toward safer terrain, cautious but calmer. The distant adult predator stopped their approach, assessing the situation from afar. The human remained alert, her shield faintly pulsing, her body poised for any necessary action. Her mind calculated each predator's possible moves. Her feet were firmly planted, her hands relaxed but ready. She had survived the first encounters, asserted dominance without violence, and taught a lesson to both predators and alien observers. The story on this red planet was far from over, but she had proven one undeniable fact. Humans were not to be underestimated, even in the most dangerous worlds. As the night deepened, the wind carried the faint sound of predator growls and the soft crackling of dust. The human stood alone among the black stone pillars, her eyes scanning, her mind alert, ready for whatever challenge came next. She had survived the impossible, and the predators, both cubs and adults, had learned a lesson they would not forget. The alien team had learned it too. Humans were strong, adaptable, and formidable. And on this red planet, under the silent gaze of the stars, she had proved it again and again. The first light of dawn spread slowly across the red planet, painting the plains with dull orange and deep shadows. The black stone pillars cast long shapes over the cracked ground. The human crouched near one of these pillars, shield pulsing faintly, eyes alert. The mother predator and her cubs had settled nearby, watching her, cautious but calmer than before. The distant adult predators had paused, keeping their distance, curious and careful. The alien research team remained at the edge of the plains, near their ship. They had retreated slightly during the night, reassessing the situation. Their confidence had been shaken. The officer spoke quietly into the calm. "We underestimated humans. This one individual has demonstrated control and dominance over a predator family. We must reconsider our strategy. We cannot fight her." The scientist nodded, scanning the human with her instruments. Her suit amplifies her natural abilities. Her shield enhances reflexes and strength. But more importantly, her strategy is human. Adaptation, patience, intelligence. This species survives by learning from every encounter.
The youngest soldier whispered, "But she is still alone."
How can she manage a full pack if they attack? The officer's eyes never left the human. Observe. One human alone can change the outcome of a dangerous encounter without direct combat. That is the strength of their species. The human shifted slightly, her gaze scanning the plains and cliffs. She knew more predators would arrive. The cubs had learned quickly. The mother predator had learned the same. But this planet had many dangers. She needed to remain vigilant. She tapped her wrist device and received a confirmation from orbit. Human fleet monitoring active. Reinforcements available if necessary. Maintain predator safety. Her shield pulsed faintly, and she rose slowly, feet planted firmly on the red soil. She did not threaten the predators, but her calm presence radiated authority. The cubs stayed close to the mother, curious and cautious. The mother predator observed her carefully, growling low and warning the cubs to remain behind her. From the distant cliffs, the adult predators began to move. They were larger, stronger than the mother, drawn by the previous encounters. Their glowing eyes scanned the plains. They had never encountered a human before, and the unusual display of control and strength piqued their curiosity. The human's eyes narrowed slightly. She understood the behavior of predators, their instincts and intelligence. Her boots shifted slightly on the cracked ground. She tapped lightly, sending vibrations through the soil. The cubs flinched and retreated further behind the mother. The mother growled, assessing the human's strength. The alien officer whispered, "She is communicating without words. The predators understand her strength. They are cautious because they sense her authority." The scientist nodded. "This is remarkable. Humans survive in extreme conditions, and their intelligence is unparalleled. They do not need weapons to command respect." One of the cubs, braver than the others, stepped forward, curious once more. The human's boot tapped the ground lightly. The vibration ran through the cub's jaw, and it yelped, shaking its head. Blood appeared around its broken teeth. The mother growled, stepping forward protectively. The human did not move aggressively. She displayed power, control, and calm dominance. The cub retreated, hiding behind the mother. The distant adult predators stopped, observing from afar. They had heard the previous encounters and sensed the tension. They would not attack recklessly. The human's presence alone commanded respect. Her strategy was not to fight unnecessarily, but to control, observe, and teach. The predators learned quickly. The human had survived impossible odds without direct combat. Suddenly, one of the alien soldiers, panicked, fired a pulse at the mother predator. She roared, stepping protectively in front of the cubs. Dust rose as the pulse struck the rock. The cubs yelped in fright and retreated further. The human's eyes shifted toward the alien, calm but sharp. She raised her arms slightly, her shield sending out a wave of energy. The alien soldier's weapons fizzled and shut down. Sparks flew from his armor. The officer shouted, "Retreat! Retreat immediately!" The human did not move. Her presence was enough. The mother predator relaxed slightly, recognizing her authority. The cubs followed, hiding behind the mother. The distant adult predators remained still, assessing from afar. The human crouched slightly, eyes scanning, her mind calculating. She had survived the first encounters, asserted dominance without unnecessary violence, and taught a lesson to both predators and alien observers. She understood the predators' instincts, their need to protect their young, and the importance of observation and patience. The alien officer whispered to the scientist, "We underestimated humans. This individual has shown control over the predators and intelligence far beyond what we expected. We are observers, not hunters." The scientist nodded, adjusting her scanners. She has adapted to this world. Humans survive death worlds and predators larger than these. She embodies that survival instinct perfectly. The red planet remained quiet, shadows stretching across the plains. The mother predator led her cubs back toward the cliffs, cautious but calmer. The distant adult predators observed from afar. The human stood alert, shield pulsing faintly, body ready for any challenge. She had survived impossible odds, controlled dangerous predators and impressed an alien team that thought humans were weak. As dawn spread across the plains, the wind carried the faint sound of predator growls and the soft rustling of dust. The human remained alert, her eyes scanning, ready for the next encounter. She had proven one undeniable truth: humans were not to be underestimated, even in the most dangerous worlds. The mother predator and her cubs had learned a painful lesson. The distant adult predators had learned the same, and the alien team had learned the ultimate truth. Humanity was strong, adaptable, and formidable. On this red planet, under the silent gaze of the stars, she had proven it once again. The red planet lay under a soft orange dawn, dust rising gently from the cracked plains. The black stone pillars cast long, deep shadows. The human stood firmly, shield pulsing faintly, watching the mother predator and her cubs. The distant adult predators had stopped at the cliffs, their eyes glowing faintly, curious but cautious. The planet was quiet, but tension still lingered. The alien research team was farther back, near their ship. They had retreated completely now, their confidence shaken. The officer whispered into his comm, "We underestimated humans entirely. This one individual has dominated a predator family and controlled the situation without weapons. We are observers, not hunters." The scientist nodded, scanning the human with her instruments. "Her strategy is remarkable. Humans survive by learning and adapting. She does not fight like us. She uses intelligence, patience, and controlled strength. This species is underestimated in every report." The human moved slowly, scanning the area with steady eyes. The mother predator and cubs watched her closely. She tapped her boots lightly on the ground, sending subtle vibrations. The cubs flinched and stayed behind the mother. The mother growled, protective but careful. The human did not threaten. She displayed control, dominance, and calm authority. From the cliffs, distant predators remained still, watching. They had heard the previous encounters and sensed the tension. The human's presence alone commanded respect. Her strategy was not to fight unnecessarily, but to observe, protect, and teach. She had survived impossible odds without full combat, and the predators had learned quickly. The human received another signal from orbit. The human fleet monitoring was still active. Reinforcements were available if needed. Predator safety remained a priority. She acknowledged the signal with a subtle nod. She was ready for any challenge, but did not intend to provoke unnecessary combat. Her goal was observation and balance. One cub, braver than the others, stepped forward again. The human's boot tapped the ground lightly. The vibration ran through the cub's jaw, and it yelped, shaking its head. Its broken teeth reminded it of the consequences. The mother stepped protectively, growling low. The human did not move aggressively. She simply displayed calm dominance. The cub retreated, hiding behind the mother. The alien officer whispered, "She controls predators without violence." This is beyond any prediction.
Wow.
One human alone has changed the dynamics of the ecosystem. The scientist adjusted her scanner. Her species adapts to extreme conditions. They survive predators larger than these through intelligence and strategy. Observe the calm control. The human shifted slightly, her gaze moving across the plains. She understood predator instincts and strategy. She could fight if necessary, but preferred control without unnecessary combat. The mother predator had learned to respect her. The cubs had learned as well. The distant adult predators observed carefully. Her presence alone communicated authority. Suddenly, one of the alien soldiers panicked. He fired a pulse at the mother predator. The creature roared, stepping protectively in front of her cubs. Dust rose as the pulse struck rocks nearby. The cubs yelped in fright and hid further. The human's eyes shifted toward the alien, calm but sharp. She raised her arms slightly. Her shield sent out a wave of energy. The alien soldier's weapons shut down. Sparks flew from his armor. The officer shouted, "Retreat! Retreat now!" The human did not move. Her stance communicated authority. The mother predator relaxed slightly. The cubs followed, hiding behind her. The distant adult predators remained still, assessing from afar. The human crouched, eyes scanning. Her mind calculated every possible move. She had survived impossible encounters, asserted dominance without unnecessary violence, and taught predators and alien observers alike a lesson. She understood instinct, survival, and strategy. Observation and patience were as important as strength. The alien officer whispered to the scientist, "We miscalculated humans completely. One individual has dominated predators and controlled the environment without weapons. They are not fragile."
They are formidable, the scientist nodded, recording data.
Humans survive death worlds and predators larger than these. This human embodies that survival instinct. We have never seen such control without combat. The mother predator led her cubs back toward the cliffs, cautious but calmer. The distant adults remained still. The human remained alert, shield pulsing faintly, body ready. She had survived impossible odds, controlled dangerous predators, and impressed the alien team. Humans were strong, adaptable, and formidable. On this red planet, under the gaze of distant stars, she had proven it once again. The wind carried faint growls and dust across the plains. The human remained alert, scanning, ready. She had proven a truth undeniable to all present. Humans were not to be underestimated. The mother predator and cubs had learned a painful lesson. The distant adult predators had learned the same. The alien team had learned the ultimate truth. Humanity was strong, adaptable, and formidable. As the sun rose higher, the human walked slowly across the plain, her shield pulsing faintly, boots leaving deep impressions in the red soil. The cubs followed at a distance, curious but cautious. The mother remained protective, but the tension had eased. The distant predators watched, learning, waiting. The human paused and looked toward the horizon. More dangers would come. More tests would appear. She was ready. Her species had survived extinction, ice ages, and predators larger and stronger than any seen here. On this red planet, humans had proven their adaptability and strength once more. Her actions had sent a clear message across the ecosystem and to the alien observers. Humans are not prey. Humans endure, adapt, and dominate when necessary. The alien team continued to record, realizing that their understanding of humanity had been incomplete and dangerously wrong. One human alone had changed the dynamics of predators and demonstrated a level of strategy, strength, and control beyond their comprehension. The human knelt briefly, tapping her boot against the soil. The cubs hesitated, then slowly approached, no longer testing. The mother predator observed quietly. The distant adult predators remained still, acknowledging her authority without aggression. Balance had been established. The human stood, eyes scanning the plains. Her shield pulsed, her mind alert. She had survived impossible odds, taught lessons to predators, and demonstrated the strength of her species. The red planet remained silent except for faint growls and the wind. The story had reached a temporary calm. but she remained ready for what came next. She had proven one undeniable fact. Humans were to be respected, feared in the right measure, and never underestimated. The predators, the planet, and the alien observers had all learned that lesson. Humanity endured, and she embodied its resilience.